myself? Yeah, I can. Hold on a sec. Cancel. Hey. Hello, hello, hello. I'm sitting here on my yoga mat, working, and been thinking a lot lately about what we're doing here, what I'm doing here, and why it seems so challenging every single time you're doing something worthwhile. And it's interesting because for most of us, our whole lives are set up so that we never have the opportunity to do anything worthwhile. And, jeez, this light is killing me. I'm gonna sit over here. We never really have the opportunity to do hard work. Seems like, especially here, our whole society is set up to actually keep us away from doing hard work. Whether it's the culture, whether it's the education, the systems, the technology, things that we have. We ourselves become users of these things. We use tools, but we forget the amount of time, the amount of effort, the amount of love, the amount of willpower that goes into making a tool. And how many times you're going to screw it up, and how you're probably going to suck, and the tool is going to be worthless until you do it the 30th time, And when you take, that's a great idea, right? It's a great philosophy. But it's so much more difficult when it's real life, right? When you have expectations, when you are trying to get something done, when you have these goals, you said you'd do one thing, you said you'd be somewhere someday, and you just don't seem to be there, not quite getting there. And it's interesting because as much as I'd like to think that I'm wise, I fall in this trap day in and day out. And the thing about this is it's a self-fulfilling loop, right? And so you kind of put yourself on the path to somewhere, and things come up, and instead of learning how to deal with it or reaching out and asking for help, you kind of realize that you have to overcome this thing yourself. And if somebody does help you, you're not going to learn from it, right? And I talk about this a lot, and I was just watching a TEDx video where a Shaolin monk was basically saying the same thing, like, you got to climb the mountain to get the perspective. Like, people can tell you what it looks like up there, but you're not going to have the perspective. And it's interesting because our whole lives, our whole physiology, our whole neatness is kind of subdivided in such a way to keep us where we are. And then if you look at our sociological structures, the way we interact with people, our belief systems, they're all kind of manufactured in a way to make it seem like life is a static, unchanging thing, and you have absolutely zero control over it. And we kind of accept this because we want to fit in. We don't want people to yell at us. We want to feel comfortable. We want to eat. We don't want to go to jail. All these things. And what I've been realizing is, I've been saying it for a long time, but I've actually understood it as truth, is like, if there's anything that you're doing, and there is a root of fear anywhere in that thing, it's probably not going to work out, right? It's maybe it used to have been able to, right? But the way it is now is like, I can't guarantee this for everybody, but I can tell you for me, if I'm operating out of fear in any way, shape, or form, whatever I'm doing is doomed to fail. And that's really, really hard to say because, you know, like sometimes people operate out of fear. Like I used to use fear as my main driver to get things done. And that is very corrosive, right? And takes a lot out of you to do that. So while you may be able to John Wayne your way through things, on the other side of it, you might as well not even did it because you can't even enjoy the fact that you did it, right? And there's these interesting things that you learn as you're going through things. And for me, I've only ever really experienced the hardness of shit. I haven't been on the other side completely yet, right? Like I found some things, but they're not like material, tangible things. And in our world, that's how we gauge success, right? Like that's how we gauge progress is real hard material things that you can feel and touch and all that type of stuff. And for me, like the way I recognize it is that stuff comes after the shift, like after the work is done, after it's all figured out. They say like overnight sensation, or whatever. That's the idea. Is like it happens overnight after all the work is done, right? And it's hard, but it doesn't have to be. That's the. It's all about the perspective, like the way you look at it, right? For me, everything in my life was hard because I grew up hard, right? And so it just seems like everything is supposed to be hard. So if anything's easy, you're not going to do that because that's easy. You're only supposed to do the hard things. When in reality, it might be the easy things that's like they might only be easy to you, right? It isn't necessarily doing the hard things or doing the easy things. It's finding the things that will get you to where you want to go, right? And you can change yourself through these things, right? So like picking something hard and for an honorable reason, for a real reason, and trying to master that thing, that changes you. That makes you into a better person, right? But it's fucking hard. And it's not like it's hard to do the work. It's hard to move past your fucking mindset, right? The hardest thing for you to deal with in your life is going to be the way you treat yourself, the way you handle yourself, the way you talk to yourself, the way you are friends with yourself, right? And I've always been a shitty friend. I've basically been a fucking shitty person, especially with other people. And so my relationship with myself was not the best, right? And that's the thing is like, until you get some self-respect and stop taking that type of decision making or treatment from yourself, you're not really going to push yourself or believe in yourself or act on anything that you think is beyond you, right? So that's where the imposter syndrome comes into play. That's where people, they start doing all these type of things because they don't believe in themselves. They don't have any faith in themselves. They don't have any respect for themselves. And let me tell you, now is not the time to be feeling these things, because if you go outside and you tell people you feel this way, they'll agree with you, and they won't really try to help you out, right? And so you have to take the time to look inside yourself and find that thing, right? Do some meditation, go for a run, do some yoga, do something. Because a lot of times, all you got to do is just change your state. Change the way your physiology is reacting in the moment, right? Tony Robbins says, make your move. You can jump up and down. You can do a bunch of shit. Might feel weird. Might feel unnatural, but it works. So it's all about hacking yourself and realizing that you're just as malleable as these things outside of you, right? you're just as fluid as water, you know, and understanding that whatever container you put yourself in, that's what you're going to fit, right? And you're going to fill that container up no matter what, right? So you don't necessarily want to put yourself in a container, but if you're trying to reach for something, just know that you can spread yourself over to that. And you can do it pretty easily, right? But you gotta break through that wall of your mind, right? And you can poke through it. Like you don't have to take a fucking sledgehammer and break it all down in one day. You know, as long as you can start seeing through it, you'll see that it's there. They call this piercing the veil. So, I hope you can pierce your veil.